For me, Alex, it's real simple. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, right? I mean, I've always been curious, motivated, wanting to create something out of my life, want to solve problems in the world, in the marketplace. But man, I let social conditioning kick in for me when I got married. That you go to school, you get a job, and you live a safe and secure life. And it was slowly suffocating me. It just absolutely was. And as I blindly, slowly put money into the retirement account, and I realized I had no control over the outcome, and I couldn't.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. So, as always, I'm very excited to be here with you with another episode of the Gentleman's SHF Talk with Alex Ramirez. And today, I have a very special gentleman that I've been really excited to have him. I've been waiting for a couple of weeks to have him. And pretty soon we're going to dive deep into how he has been able to conquer himself, his life, his marriage, and his business. But before I go into that and I introduce him to you, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments and reviews on all of the major podcasting platforms: Google Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and especially to those of you who have been watching on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. If you like this episode, if you get some value out of it, I want to ask you to share it with one person, since this is how we grow. This is how we share our message. This is how we motivate, inspire, and bless other people. And 99% of you probably won't do this, but the 1% of you who do are the ones who make all the difference. So to you, I say thank you. And today we have, let me see. So today we have Brian. And I'm going to read your bio, man. It's pretty amazing, and I don't have any issues reading it all. So we have Ryan. He found himself going down the traditional path, going to college, getting a job, getting a steady job, working 80 hours per week, chasing the next promotion and working really hard to chase the next promotion, making a lot of contributions to his 401k until he maxed out, and basically following the traditional advice that people would give you so that you could be successful and retire happily and all of that stuff, right? But then Ryan decided, for some reason, that he was tired of that. He decided that he wanted to get out of that, and he started investing into himself, listening to podcasts, to entrepreneurial podcasts, reading books, attending seminars, and attending masterminds. And he started learning about investing. He started investing in real estate after the crash of 2008, and people were telling him that he was crazy. A couple of years later, that went really well, and he, after the crash, he dusted himself off and started moving forward again. And he started building a real estate portfolio in 2009, 2010. Like I said, everyone told him that he was crazy, and then so the education and experience that he got himself into put him on the road to become financially free in under 5 years, right? So through always moving forward and always educating himself, with entrepreneurial education, he learned stuff that he didn't learn in school, and now he's changing other people's lives. He's helping other people become financially free and rise up so that they can be financially free with investments and all of that good stuff, which I'm gonna let him tell you about. So, Ryan, thank you very much for being here, man. I'm excited.
Heck yeah, Alex, man. I'm so stoked to be here with you, your audience, and ultimately the mission that you're fulfilling in the marketplace. I tell you what, if there's anything that needs to be done today, it's giving men hope that they can balance the insanity of business, of marriage, of money, and do it not just balancing it, not just surviving, but actually thriving within that chaos. And so love the mission, love the message that you share, and excited to be a small part of it today.
Thanks, man. So Ryan, the first thing that I do with my guest is I put them on the line and I asked them to introduce themselves, to tell us a little bit about themselves and about their entrepreneurial journey, right? Just what I tried to say right now, in under 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, for me, Alex, it's real simple. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, right? I mean, I've always been curious, motivated, wanting to create something out of my life, want to solve problems in the world, in the marketplace. But man, I let social conditioning kick in for me when I got married. That you go to school, you get a job, and you live a safe and secure life. And it was slowly suffocating me. It just absolutely was. And as I blindly, slowly put money into the retirement account, and I realized I had no control over the outcome, and I couldn't survive in that world. It really motivated me and prompted me to defy the odds, to embrace the inner entrepreneur, and to walk away from a safe and secure job and do what I do today, which is leading families to become financially free to live their best life.
Amazing, man. That was concise, short, and powerful. So, what do you mean that you always that you know before you got sucked into the conditioning of after you got married? What do you mean when you say that you've always been an entrepreneur?
Yeah, man. I've always looked for opportunities. I remember in third grade, I'm deathly allergic to milk, and lots of stuff. And so while everyone would eat school lunch, I would pack my lunch, and I brought a Capri Sun every single day, right? And that was the drink that I had. And everyone had the little cartons of milk in school lunch. But man, those Capri Suns, they were hot commodities. And so I would sell and auction off my Capri Suns. I would trade them sometimes. I would sell it for money. But man, just from an early age, always finding a way to create value to solve problems in the marketplace. And it's fun. Like I love doing that. And so, I paid my way through college with a small entrepreneurial job, right? I mean, I made more money as an entrepreneur paying my way through college than I did post graduation in my first professional job. And so, it was kind of balancing that social conditioning of you go to school, you get a job, and you work really hard for 40 years, and then you can figure your life out versus, man, how do I take control of my life? And I think that's really the entrepreneur journey, is realizing that you are the solution. Your progress and development never stops. And the better you can get, the better you can serve the marketplace. And that really embraces my personality a lot more.
100%, man. Yeah, the better you can get, the better that you can serve the marketplace. 100% agree. So then, you always had this entrepreneurial spirit. It's funny because I've talked to what, like, more than 15. I think that you're gonna be the 16 or 17 um, men that has been able to conquer himself, his life, his marriage, and his business. And there's always this like little story of how when they were little, they were like hustling and making money, selling stuff at school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so you had this entrepreneurial spirit, right? And you knew you had it. You were always solving problems, even when you were going to college, and you had in mind having a job after graduating from college. You still, the way that you made it through college was by you know doing something entrepreneurial, right, and making money on the side. So so when was it that like you got sucked into like the normal?
Yeah, man. You were talking to me about your story, Alex, and I'm sure you've shared that with your community and your audience. Man, it's a powerful story. It's a powerful story of, finding yourself at the bottom of a pit that you dug for yourself and climbing your way back out. And I would say my story is pretty similar. I dropped out of high school at the age of 15. I moved out of my house. I've always been pretty stubborn. And a lot of things led up to that, but I lived in the bottom of a gutter for a good 4 or 5 years. And when I decided to get my life back on track, I fell back to the conditioning. I was taught at a very young age to work hard. If you want something, you work for it, right? And so, when I decided to get my life back on track, I didn't question the path. It was go to school. And so I went back and I got a GED, and I went to college, and rather than doing college over 4 years, I did it in 2 years. It was all this intention of you go to work, you get a job, you make money, and you live the good life, right? That was kind of the thing for me. So that's what led me down the traditional path. It was just that was what I was been raised to believe. That was what my parents did. I mean, they provided an amazing life, but it was very 9 to 5 W-2 type of work. And so for me, I just found myself trying to put my life back together, going down that traditional path. But in the process of having a corporate job, I'll never forget, I got that first paycheck right out of college. And what should have been a rewarding and a validating day, I had a college degree, I had a new wife, and we moved from Utah to Arizona. And I got that first paycheck, and it was back in the days when they gave you paychecks in an envelope. And so I opened the envelope, I took the paycheck out, and I remember looking at it and all of the deductions that were coming out, right? I made X amount of dollars, but then I was taxed here, I was taxed there, and then it was insurance and all the things. And I remember after everything that came out, I was making less money after 2 weeks in a college degree than I made in a weekend as a side hustler or entrepreneur to pay my way through college. And I remember I had a little voice in the back of my head and it said, you should just quit now. But again, that social conditioning of fear, entrepreneurs are risky. That's kind of what I thought. And now that I've got a wife and now a kid on the way, I've got to, put my big boy pants on and be responsible. And I resolved right then and there to climb the corporate ladder as fast as I could, to take that entrepreneurial drive and apply it as an entrepreneur in the corporate world. And man, I was successful. I climbed the corporate ladder fast and hard. Over the next 4 or 5 years, I got promotion after promotion after promotion. And while all those promotions came with more money, what I didn't realize in the moment is they came with strings attached. Right? Every promotion was more responsibility, more expectations, bigger geography, more travel, all these things. And I found myself in a very precarious time in my life leading up to 2008. I had just crested 6 figures in my 401k. I thought that meant I was on the path to success. I didn't know what that meant, but I thought that was on the path to success. But in 2008, everyone knows, I lost, along with everyone else, almost everything I had in my 401k. And I thought I had done something wrong that caused that loss. But as I lifted up my head and looked around and talked to other people, I realized everyone lost. And the crazy part was I was working and saving insane. I was working so hard and saving as much as my income as I could, thinking that I could play the game faster and better than everyone else. And I realized everyone else had lost money. They didn't have any control, neither did I. And if I didn't have any control, I could never predict the outcome. I couldn't forecast the outcome. I was just kind of on this roller coaster ride. And so that led me to start to question my financial beliefs. But what really caused the fire and the drive to change was through all these promotions, through all this responsibility, I had become an absolute distant father, a non-existent husband. In fact, I didn't even live in the same state as my family. The day I got a call from my wife and she told me that my oldest son was going to have an open heart surgery. He was born with a heart condition that I'm an optimist. I thought he would grow out of. We had been monitoring it. And she called me and said, Doug's got to go in the hospital tomorrow for an open heart surgery. And man, at that moment, I felt like a failure all across the board. I just lost all of our money. I sucked as a husband. I wasn't even there as a father. And I'm facing the possibility of losing my son and losing my family. And, I took that flight home, spent the next couple of weeks in the hospital with my son. He's now doing okay. He's doing awesome, actually. He's taller than me, healthier than me, amazing young man at 14 now. But I remember in those 2 weeks in the hospital, I made a commitment to myself and to my family that I would be a present husband and father. I would follow. I wouldn't wait for one day. I wouldn't wait for retirement. I wouldn't wait until I had X amount of dollars in a 401k to try to figure my life out. I was going to figure it out right now. And that led me on a path to, try to balance. Like I couldn't just be crazy. I had to still work and provide for my family. And it led me down a path of trying to figure out a different game of money to buy my time back rather than trading my time hoping for one day. And that's ultimately the path that I went on that inspired me, motivated me, drove me to embrace those entrepreneurial roots that were always there, but to wake them back up and to create a life that I loved.
Cool, man. I love that. Those entrepreneurial roots that were always there. And so, right now there's probably lots of married entrepreneurs with kids who are trying to, like find another way to make this money game work, right? And like they also want to be able to balance their be able to take care of themselves first, be able to take care of their family, be able to take care of their wife, their kids, and also like make it in business. And they're looking for a way to make the money game work. So what was it for you that what was the vehicle that you used to make the money game work and be able to like get it to a level that allowed you to have the balance that you desired with your family?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. Couple of different things, honestly. For the first time, I started to define what I wanted my life to be, right? Because here's the problem with traditional financial planning. It's this really fuzzy idea that one day you'll have enough money. No one ever knows what enough money is, but you'll have enough money to buy your life back, to retire, right? And so that's a really fuzzy long distance dream, which means there's no urgency in the present moment to do anything about it. So I decided to reverse engineer to say, look, money's not good or bad. It's just a tool. And until I know what I want, that tool is irrelevant, right? It just comes and goes. It flows in and out of my life without any purpose or intention whatsoever. So I got really clear on what I actually wanted. Like if I woke up tomorrow and money wasn't the primary reason that I made decisions in my life, what would I do? And, it took me some time, and I still do this today, but it took me some time to articulate and really define what I wanted my life to look like and be like. Then I could go back to money and start to analyze, how am I making it? How am I keeping it? How am I investing it? And are those three areas leading me to what I actually want my life to look like? So that was number one, is just getting a vision for your life. And then understanding that money's a tool, right? Money's a tool to help you do the things that you want. But unless you know what you want, it's irrelevant, right? And so that's number one. Number two, the biggest lesson I learned in 2008 is I had zero control. I had my money invested in a properly diversified portfolio, and what that ultimately meant is it was an average at best portfolio. And I was expecting extraordinary results when the entire game was based on average. And that's where most people find themselves. They've got their money following average, typical advice, but somehow they're expecting extraordinary results. So number one, I realized I had to take control. No longer could I put my money in the casino of Wall Street and just hope that, the gods and the odds were in my favor. I had to take control. And the next thing that I did is I had to define what success looked like. I thought success was having a big balance in a 401k, but 2008 led me to realize I didn't control it. But the biggest thing that I understood at that point was, even if I had $1 million in a 401k, I was about 30 when I started to discover these lessons. That money wasn't mine. I couldn't touch it. It was locked away until I was 60. So it wasn't really a tool to help me create freedom today. And so rather than investing for the long run and trying to base my success off of a big pile of cash, I shifted my focus and said, look, I'm just going to start buying assets that generate income today. And it became a really simple game. If my monthly expenses are $5,000 a month or $7,000 a month or $10,000 a month, whatever they are, I have to buy and acquire assets that produce that amount of consistent, predictable, passive cash flow. And when my cash flow exceeds my expenses, I, for all intents and purposes, am financially free. And that's the game I started playing, is rather than trying to measure my success off of net worth someday, it was cash flow in the present moment.
Cool, man. So, out of those three steps, which is, it sounds really simple. It's like knowing what you want for your life and how you want your life to look like. Sounds pretty simple, right? But it's crazy to see the amount of people that don't know what they want for their life, man.
It is.
It's the most important question in the universe. Yet 99% of people, you walk around the street and you ask someone, "Hey, what do you want for your life?" And they're like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first one, right? The second one was taking control, which I'm going to come back to, like, ask you, right? Like, how did you did it? What did you use to actually take control and make sure that you have assets producing you enough cash flow so that you are free, right? And then the third one, define success, right? Again, something that seems very simple, right? We're all chasing success. We all want to be successful, happy, and fulfilled, but we don't even know what it looks like, or we don't even know what it looks like when we already got there. So I actually have a little module that is called "Don't Miss the Point," right? Which is all about defining success and not missing the point, because if you feel successful when you have, a certain amount of money and you're able to be with your family and stuff, but you don't know that is you being successful, then you're just going to keep on, on grinding and hustling and burning out and not being able to actually enjoy the present moment and be able to realize that you were already successful long ago. So those 2 points are amazing, man. And for the, to go back to you, right, to the second one, which was taking control and making sure that you are acquiring enough assets that generate enough cash flow to make sure that are covering your expenses and are allowing you to live freely. So what did you use for that? Like, how did you actually do that?
Yeah, man. So we have a whole strategy around this. I'm gonna share the easiest, most simple one. I started buying simple 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We say they're hiding in plain sight. They're everywhere in every middle America neighborhood. But 3-bedroom, 2-bath, cash flow producing homes, period. That's all I started doing. So simple, so easy. And just from an investment standpoint, we talk about this inside of our company, Cashflow Tactics. There's actually four ways you can make money potentially when you invest. So we call that the four pillars, right? And every asset has four pillars. It's just a matter of how you participate in the investment. So when I was putting my money in the stock market, I was really only making money one way, and it was through appreciation, right? I was hoping that I could buy a mutual fund or a stock at one price and it would appreciate over time and I could sell it at some future point at a higher price. I had no control over that game. As I looked at single family real estate, the four ways that you can potentially make money are appreciation, cash flow, tax deductions, and leverage. Those are the four pillars of investing. So appreciation, cash flow, tax deductions, and leverage. When I looked at a single family home, I could take a small amount of money, right? Because I get to use leverage. I could buy a property. Let's say it's valued at $100,000. I didn't need to have $100,000 to buy that property. So I got to use leverage. So I could stretch the money that I had. Number two, I bought it in a way that it kicked off after all expenses. It kicked off positive cash flow every single month. So I was making money through leverage. I was making money through cash flow. Number three, this was as a really powerful one. The tax code is written to incentivize behavior. And I want to say that again. The tax code is written to incentivize behavior. Most people are afraid of the tax code. They don't know how the tax code works. And as a result, they get few, if any, benefits from the tax code. It feels like a penalty instead of an incentive, right? But the entire tax code, the very first page of the tax code says basically everything you make is taxable. And then the thousands of pages after that are all of the ways that you don't have to pay taxes if you do XYZ. Real estate takes up almost 50% of the tax code. So I get to buy an asset that I'm not deferring taxes like I was doing in a 401k. I'm not paying taxes today on a capital gain. I'm actually eliminating taxes forever inside of this asset. So cash flow, leverage, tax deductions, and appreciation. I bought the property. I held the property. I let the market do what it's going to do. I didn't control it, right? So I don't control appreciation in the stock market or in the real estate market. But if I can buy the property, hold the property, and have it over a long period of time, the tenant's paying down the mortgage. So driving down the actual obligation of the property, that creates appreciation. And then as the market goes up and the demand for real estate goes up, that creates market-based appreciation. So my money went from making money in one way that I didn't control to making money in four ways that I had control over. And that is at the core of how we build these strategies inside of our company, is helping people align their money, take control over their money, and align it with things that they control and that have four pillars versus one pillar.
That's crazy, man. That's an amazing opportunity, for any married entrepreneur with kids out there, with a family, because you focus on helping families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for any married entrepreneur with kids, out there looking for an opportunity to make money, not only in like one way, but like having a property that is producing them cash flow, having a property that is, while they have it, it appreciates, right? And the way that they were able to obtain it was with other people's money using leverage. And not only that, right? It gives them tax deductions and all kinds of stuff, right? For any, I mean, I don't know, man, but that sounds like an amazing opportunity to me if I wanted to like create wealth and rise up and live free.
Well, Alex, let me share this with you because I think this will serve your audience hopefully really, really well. There's really only three assets that have all four pillars. And your audience, all of them already has one of them right in front of their face, right? The other asset that has all four pillars is a business. Think about it, right? You have a business, it appreciates, it goes up in value as you build a business that has equity, that has value in the marketplace. It produces positive cash flow. Hopefully, some businesses don't, but produces positive cash flow. It gives you massive, massive tax deductions, and it gives you all kinds of leverage, not just financial leverage, leverage of systems, leverage of marketing, leverage of people. So a business, in my opinion, is the absolute best investment you can make, because then you get to bring yourself to the table. You get to bring your mindsets, your skill sets, your knowledge, your connections, your network, your experience to the table, and you get to influence that business. You get to grow that business, and you can put $1 into a business and turn it into 2, 10, 20, 100 multiples of that. There is no investment anywhere in the world that can compare with a business. So that is the one that the majority of your audience should focus on first and foremost, is get a business that's successful and profitable, because that has all four pillars and will create more wealth than anything else.
I like what you said, man. I like that you said that there is no other investment that would give you a better return than investing in a business. But then, like, in order for you to invest in a business and actually make it successful, what do you have to do?
Invest in yourself 100%. You're at the center. You're the hub of that entire will, right? And the more you invest in your mindset, your skill sets, and your network, the more impact you can bring to your business, the faster your business will grow and accelerate.
And then this thought just came to my mind, and I just wanted to share it. Like, it has nothing to do, but um, like, I don't know if I should, sperm, right? Like cum,
That's a good
right?
example. I've never heard it. I've never heard it equated with sperm.
Right. So that energy, when you ejaculate, that energy that you use is the most powerful energy, because you can use it to create babies. And I don't know
Yes.
why this came to me, but you can use it to create babies, which is like the biggest creation in the whole universe, right? Creating another human being. And I know why. It's because I'm trying to become a multi-orgasmic man, and I currently hold my energy, and all that energy I use it to work in myself and in my business. So that's why that came to my mind.
Well, I love
And
that because look, the reality of being of being an entrepreneur is you are a creator. Period. Right? You're creating value in the marketplace. Like if you're not a creator, then you're dying. If you're not a creator, then you are hoping that the world, that the government, that something is going to come into your world and save you. But the only way for you to take control, the only way for you to ultimately be free is to embrace your inner power. Know that you have unique, God given skills, gifts, talents, and abilities. And when you use those in the marketplace, you're doing an amazing thing. You're solving problems that can only be solved by you. You're solving those problems. Number one, you're creating a solution. And then from an economic standpoint, dollars follow value, period. So the more value you can create, the more problems you can solve, the more dollars are going to follow that trail that you create. And so, man, I love what you're saying there, Alex. Like the ultimate freedom, in my opinion, is to embrace the aspect that you are a creator.
oh, yeah, man, and you said it beautifully, right? And so like everything that we just talked about, how you help people rise up and live free, and create wealth, and invest, and all of that. That's great. So now, like, I want to digress and ask you something a little bit strong, right? Which is part of my message. And part of my message is that I help, young married entrepreneurs with kids who fucked up, right? Because the reality is that I fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I had no business having a kid at 18 years of age while being a drug addict and alcoholic, and not having any goals or vision or mission or anything like that. I had no business having a kid and starting a family. I didn't even know how to take care of myself or love myself, right? Physical freedom. I didn't have a purpose or goals, or I didn't know what I wanted for my life. I didn't know what success looked like. I wasn't even thinking about success, right? I
Yeah.
didn't know how to love my wife. I didn't know how to love myself, let alone a wife and a baby that I tried to kill. And I didn't know how to make money. I mean, you could say that I did, but not at a high level, right? So, like, I fucked up. And so it sounds like you became a husband and a father at a very young age, before becoming a gentleman in what I call the perfect way. So the way to become a modern gentleman, a four-dimensional man that gets to achieve true freedom and have it all, the perfect way to do that is by achieving your freedoms in a certain order, which would be like this: physical freedom, working on yourself; emotional and spiritual freedom, working on yourself again; financial freedom, which gets easy once you get your physical and your emotional and spiritual freedom. You have self mastery. You know who you are. You become a person of value. You become a person of worth, of power, and that allows you to obtain financial freedom, build a business, and do something really amazing with your life, right? So now you've done this for the last 10 years of your life, 15 years of your life. You're 30, 35, pretty young still. And now you can give yourself the chance, the opportunity to go and taste, to go and look for the woman that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, build a family with, and keep on growing your empire with. That would be the perfect way to become what I call a modern gentleman. But what happens is that most men fuck up, just like me. So I was wondering if you feel, you know, anything that has to do, along those lines, or maybe, at that moment when you were young and you were just graduating from high school and got a new wife and all of that, maybe you felt like it wasn't the right time, but I mean, you had to work through it. I just want to know, like, what's your take on it?
Absolutely, man. There is no perfect path, right? There's probably only one person who's walked that perfect path, and it's not either one of you or I or anyone else. But here's the reality. Here's the reality that I believe. Life is happening, right? And you're going to make decisions, and those decisions are going to be imperfect. You're an imperfect person with imperfect information, making decisions based on an imperfect, surrounding. But your opportunity, when we talk about this idea of freedom, like we're all free. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to accept it, right? And how you accept it is by accepting the results, the truth, as ugly as it might be, as blissful as it might be, of your present circumstance. Most people will never, you can set goals until the day you die. But until you will tell yourself the truth in the present moment, how your life is actually working, how much money you're actually making and saving, are you a present father, what's your husband, or what's your commitment to your personal health and well-being, all the things that you just talked about. Unless you're willing to look at the facts of your life and tell yourself the truth, you're working in fantasy, you're working in fiction, right? You're not working with the facts of your reality. But if you can be clear on what you want, where you're going, what your ideal version of your life looks like, and tell yourself the truth in the present moment, then you have 2 points in time that you can start to make some progress, bridging the gap between those two together. And so with all of us, right? All it is looking at life and saying, look, is life happening to me? Am I a victim of my reality? Because if you're a victim of your reality, you'll never be free. But once you can accept your freedom and say, look, I'm a creator and I created my reality, as dirty, as painful, as horrible, or as amazing as it might be, I created my reality, and accept that, right? Life then starts to happen for you. And you start to realize that there's a lesson in everything. There's probably more lessons in the bad and the mistakes that we make than in the good, right? That's just human beings. We learn through pain more often than we learn through passion and bliss. And so, look, as you look at life and tell yourself the truth and acknowledge that life is happening for you, there's a lesson in everything. And as long as you learn those lessons and apply those lessons and become, as you talk about, this four-dimensional man by constantly elevating your mindset, constantly elevating your awareness, and constantly progressing forward to an ideal reality, then you're always on the right track. And so life will never be perfect. Your path will never be perfect, but it's perfect for you to get exactly what you need out of life. And that's, I think that's the bliss and that's the adventure of life, is knowing that it's going to be hard. That's part of the process. Like, freedom isn't free. Freedom must be earned, worked for, and preserved. And so it's a lot of that kind of back and forth of, look, how do I be satisfied with the present moment? How do I accept the present moment? But how do I also be freaking just pissed off about the present moment, knowing that I'm capable of more and knowing that I'm going to become more so I can accomplish the next reality that I want to accomplish.
That's amazing, man. There's a lot that we can dissect from everything that you just said and just like dive deep into and talk for hours about. But um, I like the idea. I don't know if this is what you're trying to. I don't know if this is the point that you're trying to like get through. But I like the idea that there's no really like fucking up as long as you get a clear foundation, of the facts of your life right now, whether they're bad or ugly or very, very bad. And as long as you get that clear foundation and you get clear on what you want, you can always make it happen. I like that idea, right?
And I
And
think it
then
might be Tony Robbins that says, I can't remember the exact quote, but like your life is defined by the meaning that you assign to it, right? And it's not until, like, if I look at something, if I get in a car accident today and I assign a meaning that everything's bad, right? It's not my fault. That person ran into me, then everything's going to be negative. But if I look at that and say, hey, the meaning that I'm going to assign to it is, I'm so grateful for the life I had. This was a reality check that I'm still alive, that despite having a car accident, whether it was my fault or not, that I'm going to acknowledge more the beauty of the present moment, because I'm aware now that it can be taken from me at any moment in time. And so you get to assign the meaning. So why don't we assign a meaning that's powerful, that's empowering to us, to help us build and live a life that matters?
exactly, right, which is exactly what I did when I found out that I was going to be a father of a premature baby at 18 years of age, man.
Heck yeah.
And because of all of the negative beliefs, I was supposed to be a fuck up, not amount to anything great, not do anything with my life. And now I'm talking to you here, right? So, and then that was just because I decided to choose the meaning that I wanted to give to what happened for me, right? And give a meaning and give myself a purpose and get really clear on what I wanted. So that's amazing, man. And then to another thing, to what you said, that you gotta find a way to, like accept the present moment, but also like get mad about the present moment so that you're able to like execute with power. So yeah, so like, you get clear on a very big, compelling vision, but also, like, you get clear on the present moment, so that you're able to like execute with power. So yeah, so like, you get clear on a very big, compelling vision, but also, like, you get clear on the present moment, so that you're able to like execute with power. So yeah, so like, you get clear on a very big, compelling vision, we also get clear on the opposite, right? On the opposite of that big and compelling vision, which is going to be chasing you. So because humans, like, and this is from Tony Robbins, now that you mentioned him and you bring him up, humans always move in two directions. They move towards pleasure or away from pain. So if you have that very pleasurable vision of what you want, a big compelling vision of what you want, that's going to motivate you. But what's going to motivate you even more is the opposite version of that vision, which is going to cause pain. So whenever you're feeling like not doing the work, it's going to be really good for you to remember that vision that you want, but it's going to be even better for you to remember what is going to be the cost of you not taking action and where you're going to end up with, which will be the opposite version of that vision. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. And yeah, it was amazing, man. So what do you think about something that I can't seem to drill it into men's heads, that you don't have business problems, that you have personal problems reflecting in your business? What do you think about that? And how has it shown up in your life? How has it
Yeah.
showed up in your life?
You know what? I love that message that you share with people, Alex, because look, the reality of it is if you're a creator, you're creating your reality. And if you're a business owner, there is no better, faster feedback mechanism than operating a business. Like if you show up in your business and you lose a bunch of money, that's not the market's fault. That's not, your employee's fault. That's your fault, right? That's your fault because you didn't set clear expectations. You didn't build the right system. You didn't have whatever it was that caused the loss. And as you can start looking at your business as opportunities, man, I tell you what, there is no better incubator than building and scaling a business. Like you will grow by necessity. You will grow faster doing that than anything else. Now, if you don't grow faster than anything else, the flip side of that is the reality where I don't know what the statistic is, but something like 90% of businesses fell within the first 5 years. It's not the business. A business is an inanimate object. It's just a process or a system or a product. Those things don't fail. It's the people, more than likely the entrepreneur, that fails the business. And so it's that personal responsibility, that personal freedom. Will you accept your freedom? Will you acknowledge the results and take ownership, stewardship over those results? Because at the end of the day, if you're unwilling to do that, you're not going to be in the game very long.
And it's crazy, man. It is the person. It is the entrepreneur. Like, there's no doubt about the fact that you don't have business problems. You have personal problems reflecting in your business. Like you said, having a business to me is like, when you meditate, that you're like aware of literally every sound or like everything that is going on in your body. Well, business is like meditating, right? And it's like putting your life under a microscope to see like what's going wrong or what's going well. Right? Like if you have a lot of things going wrong physically, you're not gonna have that good of a performance. If you have a lot of things going wrong emotionally and spiritually, and you're not connected with who you are, you don't know who you are, you don't have a purpose, you're gonna lack enthusiasm and drive. And if you have marriage problems or problems with your family, right, relationship problems with yourself, you're gonna have a pretty hard time. And to that point, man, you want to know what was the one thing that was keeping me from starting this podcast a couple of months ago?
Probably fear.
Just belief. Yeah, crazy. And
Yeah.
then 2 months later, this is my 16th interview with a very successful man who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their business. My network is now growing. Now I'm getting known. I'm tapping into other people's audiences. I'm upgrading and leveling myself up because of the people that I've been talking to and surrounding myself to. I have speaking gigs, and all of that wasn't happening because of myself. Crazy, right?
Man, I think the number one thing that holds us back is fear. It's fear of failure. It's fear of rejection. It's fear of whatever it is, like fear of not meeting other people's expectations. But man, I tell you what, that's that whole eternal celestial battle. Like you have to have faith in yourself, faith in your purpose, faith in your talents, faith that life is a journey, faith that despite you being imperfect, you can still take imperfect action, and it's better than taking no action whatsoever. And so it's constantly being able to look at the future and the present and say, look, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to face my fears. And the crazy part about it, and I'm sure you've learned this lesson over and over and over again, but most recently with your podcast, the fear that is in our mind is never as bad as our mind tells us that it is as soon as we face it. Once we face it and you do your first podcast and you reach out for your first interview, you realize, holy crap, this is a lot easier than I thought it would be. This is not as hard as not as scary as I thought it would be. And it's simply a matter of facing it and taking action towards it.
Exactly, man. It's funny because, I just like I asked you, and you said yes, and you were willing to help, right? Like you were willing to help openly, and right. So this has happened again and again and again that I just ask, and they're willing to help. They're like, yes. And they hear my story. I send them a 2-minute video. They hear my story and whatever, and they're willing to help me, right? And man, I've even gotten urges to be like, so like I ask and they say yes. And I've even got the like urge to say, you know what? No, never mind. Because of like the self-sabotaging tendencies, because of how strong those like limiting beliefs are in my head. So one last question for you, man, before I dive into the 5 questions that I always end up my interviews with. So this question for me is, how did you overcome that, that wiring in your mind, that wiring in your brain, when you were going down the path of what seemed to be normal and secure and safe, getting a job and staying there because you had a family and all of that we talked about? Like, how did you overcome that fear that could have caused, right? Thinking about, oh, I'm not going to have my stable and secure job paying me, every single week or whatever. So how did you overcome that?
Yeah, man, there's a couple different things. I think one of us, what we just talked about is just taking action. Like, it's your belief and the story that you're telling yourself. Those are the things that are holding you back. So if your belief's holding you back, you got to reparadigm your mind and insert a new belief. So one of the biggest things that I still do and continually do is tell myself a better story, right? And it starts with a movie that I play myself, that I've made for myself, and I've redone it many times over the years, that documents who I am. Okay. And here's the crazy part. I am blank. Whatever you put behind that, that's your reality, right? And if you tell yourself, I am not good enough, I'm not worthy, I can't do it, I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable, whatever all these limiting beliefs are that we tell ourselves over and over and over again, they become subconscious and they just become the script of your life. Until you reprogram that script with, I am capable, I am strong enough, I am empowered, I am capable, I can do it. Then those will become your reality. So it's about telling yourself a better story, taking imperfect action, and looking at failure not as failure. I mean, we're taught in school that failure is bad, right? Failure is flunking. Failure is, you don't want to promote that. But if you want to study success, study failure. Look at everyone who's successful in the game, and they're going to tell you that they learn more from their failures than anything else. Their success was the fact that they stayed in the game, they conquered their failures, and they made their failures strengths. And that's really what it is. It's taking little steps of action, pushing through your failures, learning from your failures, and building more and more confidence until it ultimately turns to certainty. In the beginning, you're going to take steps and you're going to second guess everything you do, right? And so you tell yourself a better story, you take the next step, and over time, you start to believe and you start to have more confidence that the path that you're on, that you can do it, that you're capable, that it's just a matter of time. And that's when the game of entrepreneurship gets kind of fun.
Cool, man. Yeah. Awesome. So, man, can I go ahead and ask you? So now, we're towards the end. We have a couple of minutes, and I end up by asking 5 questions. So can I go ahead and ask you the first one?
Let's do it.
So if you could travel back in time and give yourself, if your 18-year-old self, some advice, what would you say to him?
Yeah, man. I think I would tell myself to give yourself a little bit more grace. Entrepreneurs and goal setting individuals, we are our hardest critics. We're the ones that beat ourselves up more than anyone else out there. And so to give yourself a little bit of grace in the failures, in the setbacks, in the mistakes, and allow yourself to celebrate the progress that you're making.
Cool. Awesome. I love it, man. The second one is, what is one mindset shift or one breakthrough that you've made that you can share that has allowed you to level up in your life, in your marriage, and in your business?
Knowing, and I'm gonna go back to this idea of a creator. I mean, we call it in our community the producer revolution, knowing that I'm the creator of my life. And that goes into every area of my life, into my marriage, to my physical health and well-being, my spiritual and mental connection. I am a creator. And if I am a creator, then I get to create the world that I want to live in. And if I don't accept that truth, if I don't accept that reality, then that means I am being, force fed. I'm just a victim of the reality that I live in. And so the biggest mindset shift that I've adopted and continue to adopt day after day is that I am a creator.
And in other words, taking responsibility. Would you agree?
100%. That's part of being a creator. Absolutely.
Awesome, man. So the third one is, what strategy, tactic, or tool do you use to make sure that there's always clarity in your life? Is there a tool, tactic that you use to make sure that you have clarity?
Yeah, we call it a game plan. I mean, inside of our business, we follow a system called Entrepreneurial Operating System. And without going into all the detail or anything like that, it's about bringing goals into short range targets. And I like to call them a 90-day target. So every 90 days, I have a target professionally. I have a target for my business. I have a target for my physical, mental, emotional, all the things that you talk about. I have a target of, hey, this is the thing in the short range that I'm trying to accomplish that gives me enough distance and stretches me enough, but is also close enough to the present reality that I can actually measure progress in a short range period of time. So that's the number one thing in my business, in my financial plan, in my life, is having 90-day targets that I put my head down and grind towards.
Cool. And is that something that you help people? Is that something that you help people with too as well, or no?
100%. I mean, everything inside of our world is all built on game plans broken down into 90-day targets.
Sounds awesome, man. Great. So the fourth one is, what do you think is the one most important habit for you that has contributed greatly to your success? One habit.
You mentioned this earlier, and I think you said it's the foundation. It's this physical health and well-being. From a very early age, man. I remember I had to go into therapy after I dropped out of high school and caused some trouble and all that kind of stuff. And I was too stubborn and too, I don't know, whatever, to talk to the therapist. But one day my therapist had a great idea, and she just said, I bet you can't do 20 push-ups. And I did those 20 push-ups. I released a lot of endorphins. And then she said, I bet you can't do 30. I bet you can't do 50. I bet you can't do 100. And it created in me this drive. And I felt better, right? When I got up and moved my body and physically was strong, physically was capable, it allowed me to experience so much joy around me in the world. And mentally, it opened up a whole different world for me. So I think the number one habit and tool is getting my body straight and maintaining a positive, proactive health and well-being. And that could be anything from biking to lifting weights to nutrition and all of the above, and a combination of it. But if I can get my body straight, then everything follows.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Yeah. If you look good and you feel good, then you perform good, right?
Yep.
So 100%. And then also the idea of loving yourself. You know what, man? I think, because I also set goals for myself and have habits that make sure that I'm on track physically, emotionally, sentimentally, and financially. And I sometimes think that I don't know. Like, I don't know how it feels not to have those habits and not to be fit and in shape, and I don't know. So I think I give it for granted sometimes. And so yeah, you're right, man. You're definitely right. So the last one is 30-second thoughts, right? So just quick thoughts on tracking, measuring, and having KPIs.
Man, that which you track, that which you measure, you improve. And so if you want to improve any aspect of your life, you've got to have a measuring point. What does success look like? How do you define it? And then where are you at currently? And how do you track your progress in between? And that's success right there. I mean, if you can just get good at playing, setting up and playing measurable, winnable games, then your life will radically change in a very short order.
Cool. And the 5 questions that I just asked, just for the audience, just so that the audience are about mindset, map, motion, measure, right? If you get those 4 right, you get the money. So there you go. Where you measure grows. Man, if I'm a married entrepreneur with kids, I want to start to, rise up, live free, invest, become financially free in 5 years or less by investing in assets that generate me cash flow, that appreciate, that allow me to use leverage, and that give me tax benefits. And I want to know more about you. Like, where can I find you? Where can I go? Where can I get more of you?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, Alex. We serve a community of entrepreneurs and W2 people alike, to be honest with you. Anyone who's producer minded, and our entire strategy is rise up, take control so that you can live free. And everything like we talked about is built on a game plan, and it's a principle-based approach to achieving financial freedom in 10 years or less. I don't really care where you start, whether you're broke, whether you have a lot of money, or anywhere in between. It's truly understanding that your resource, your number one resource is your time, and it's using your money to buy your time back, not so you can retire, but so you can enter the game of living a life on purpose. And that might be starting or scaling a business that's, beyond your wildest dreams. That might be spending more time with your family. That might be, doing more charitable work. I don't, every one of us has stuff to do that is fulfilling to us, but our goal is to help make you free. And so you own and control your time. And, the best way to find us is Cashflow Tactics. We have a 5-day challenge where we show you why traditional finance will never work and what to do about it. So go to cashflowtactics.com/challenge. You can discover more about that. We have a free Facebook group where we have tons of results and case studies. Just search us up, Cashflow Tactics on Facebook. And we do the Rise Up Live Free podcast. So any one of those platforms, you can check out what we do and see if it's right for you.
Awesome, man. So thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate you being here and you giving me some time, spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. And this was great, man. Thank you.
My man, appreciate you, Alex.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you later. Thank you for watching the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms